Delete light from the universe. Every photon, gone. The whole sky black forever. One thing survives: the speed limit. Nothing could ever move faster than 299,792,458 meters per second, about 7.5 laps around Earth in a single second. That number was never really about light. It is the speed of cause and effect, the fastest any event is allowed to touch any other. Light just happens to travel at it. Hold that correction, because real things do beat light, and they all fail the same test.
Start by trying to break it with brute force. The Large Hadron Collider, a 27-kilometer ring buried under the French-Swiss border, feeds each proton the energy of a flying mosquito, packed into a particle a trillion times smaller. And after all that, each proton still crosses the line 2.85 meters per second slower than light. A slow jog. Double the energy, and that jogging gap shrinks by only a fraction. The curve flattens against the limit and never touches it. Past this point, energy stops buying speed. It piles into the particle's punch, while the speedometer freezes in a row of nines.
Nature has thrown far harder than we ever have, and still lost. In October 1991, a detector in the Utah desert called the Fly's Eye caught a flash from a single particle arriving from deep space with 51 joules of energy, a hard-thrown ball compressed into one particle. Physicists named it the "Oh my God" particle, still the most energetic ever recorded, tens of millions of times beyond the LHC. So, run the race. Assume it was a proton at the reported energy, and set it flying alongside a beam of light. The light pulls ahead by 1 centimeter after 245,000 years. 250,000 years, and nature's hardest throw trails by a fingernail. So what is the wall made of? Nothing pushes back. Empty space has no friction. The limit is built into the geometry that decides which events are allowed to cause which. Picture any event: a spark, a collision, a decision. Its influence spreads outward through space-time at most, this one speed, sweeping out a cone of everything it can ever affect. Inside that cone, everyone in the universe agrees. Cause first, effect second. Step outside the cone, and that agreement collapses. Here is what breaking it would actually do. Send a faster-than-light message to a friend on a ship receding at 80% of light speed. Observers moving at different speeds genuinely disagree about which faraway events happen at the same moment. That part is measured, settled physics. For a signal outside the light cone, the disagreement turns vicious. In your friend's frame, your message arrives before you sent it. Now they reply faster than light in their frame, and the reply lands on your desk before your question left it. A faster-than-light transmitter is a telephone into your own past, a machine for receiving answers to questions you have not yet asked. That is why the limit is absolute. Crack it anywhere, and cause and effect fail everywhere. And yet, this glow is real. You are looking down into the core of a nuclear reactor, and that blue light is made by particles outrunning light. The fine print: light in water. Passing through water, light slows to about 75% of its vacuum speed. Electrons flung out of the reactor core cross the same water at over 99%. Each one plows through its own light, piling it into a shockwave, the optical version of a sonic boom, glowing blue. So, faster than light? Yes, genuinely in water. Faster than the cosmic limit? Never. The universe runs the same trick at full scale. Beyond roughly 14 billion light-years, Galaxies are receding from us faster than light, right now. Nothing breaks because they are not moving through space at all. The space between us is expanding, and enough stretching space adds up to any speed you like. Measured against its own local neighborhood, each galaxy drifts far below the limit. The stretching carries them. Nothing rides it. You can even beat light from your backyard. Flick a laser pointer across the face of the moon, and the dot sweeps the lunar surface faster than light. But the dot is just a series of separate photons landing in separate places. One patch of moonlight cannot use it to warn the next. Quantum entanglement fails the same test more subtly. Measure one entangled particle, and its distant partner's outcome is locked, instantly, every time. But each outcome is pure coin flip randomness. Neither side can choose what the other sees, so no message ever crosses. Every entry on this scorecard dies on the same line. Influence? Pattern? Correlation? Yes. Information? Never. Which is why, in September 2011, physics held its breath for 6 months. An experiment called OPERA had been firing neutrinos, ghostly particles that pass through solid rock, from CERN in Geneva to a detector buried under an Italian mountain, 731 kilometers away. Across 3 years and more than 15,000 neutrinos, they kept arriving about 60 nanoseconds early. 60 billionths of a second. Tiny, but far bigger than the error bars. The team did something unusual. They published the anomaly and asked the world to find their mistake. The answer, months later, was heartbreakingly small. A fiber optic cable in the timing chain was not fully plugged in, skewing the clock by about 73 nanoseconds, plus a clock oscillator drifting the other way. Fix both, rerun the beam, and the neutrinos had been flying at light speed all along. The most serious challenge the limit ever faced died in a connector socket. That leaves the loophole everyone asks about: warp drives. The honest status in 2026 is stranger than the headlines. Einstein's equations really do allow warp bubbles, shells that contract space ahead of themselves and expand it behind. In 2024, researchers even found warp shell solutions built from ordinary positive energy. The catch? Every one of them is slower than light, and one published design would still weigh about 2 Jupiters packed into a shell 20 meters across. The faster-than-light versions all still demand negative energy, a kind of matter nobody has found in usable form. And even granting it, 2 faster-than-light bubbles arranged the right way carry a traveler into their own past, the antitelephone again, wearing an engine. The loophole does not dodge the wall. It arrives back at it. So switch the light back on. Photons move at exactly 299,792,458 meters per second for one reason. They have no mass. And anything massless gets no choice. It rides the fastest lane the geometry allows. The limit was there first. Light does not set the universe's speed limit. Light obeys it.